football's coming off its marquee win of the Marcus Freeman era, and it gives way for a season that holds hope as much as any they have had over the last couple of years. NIU comes to town and looks to play spoilers on week 2 once more. It's Notre Dame and NIU, and this is Shamrock Sports. And with that, we welcome you inside and upstairs the second floor of the Duncan Student Center alongside John Bailey and Jimmy Collins. I'm Jacob Irons. Notre Dame coming off maybe the biggest win since 2012, you have to feel, and they have been playing some really good football. It's a program-defining win for Marcus Freeman as they pick up the win 23-13 against Texas A&M. And guys, you got to start where everyone has been talking throughout the college football world. What does that win do for Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the biggest win of the Marcus Freeman era. I know that he's beaten some top 10 teams here in South Bend, but the timing of those wins wasn't as important as a week 1 statement road win. And I think that the excitement, at least definitely on campus, the excitement as a fan has risen so much. But I think personally the expectations around this team should stay about the same. I think 11-1 is a very attainable goal, and I think that gets you into the playoff. But I think 12-0, the path to 12-0 has become a lot clearer than it was just a week ago.
A lot clearer for John. What do you feel this changes?
Gentlemen, I am a man of low expectations. You see, I root for the Detroit sport team, so I know that expectations can be dangerous. I was there when the Lions went 0-16. I was there when the Pistons lost 28 straight, when I was hoping they could just win 28 games at all. So I know what it's like to root for losers, and I'm not really used to cheering for champions. You know, in my time here at Notre Dame, there's been a couple of good teams, some playoff runs, but never once have I really thought we could be a champion. But I'm ready to be hurt this year because I firmly believe that the expectations are higher than they've been in over a decade. That this team has a great shot to go undefeated after beating the toughest team in the biggest game on their schedule, can run the table, get that 5 seed, and dare I say finally win a college football playoff game. I'm confident in it, and I think anything other than that result will be a letdown on this season.
Yeah, new era of college football, 12-team playoffs opening up for Notre Dame. They can only go as high as the 5 seed since they aren't in a conference. However, you talked about their schedule there, John, and that's exactly where you have to look. For this Notre Dame team, as you take a look at the ESPN FPI on the right-hand side of every matchup, their toughest opponent by FPI, by ESPN, isn't until their last game of the year at USC. This is a schedule that I think might be the easiest in college football, and the numbers reflect it. So with that win, it now provides them an opportunity to say we have the tiebreaker in our back pocket with the schedule we have out in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, I think the path to 12-0, like I said, has become almost crystal clear. They're favorites in every game the rest of this down the road. Yeah. And I think that it just feels like that is almost like not the best thing as a fan. Like expecting to go 12-0 isn't the best thing, but it's definitely like
can only be disappointing.
So manageable. At USC will be tough. You saw what they could do last week with giving Lincoln Riley a new quarterback in Miller Moss. So that will definitely be a tough one, but the rest of the games on our schedule, I like our chances to win, and I like our chances going to Southern California 11-0. And it's exciting, but it's definitely a little worrisome. Kind of like what John was hitting on.
Yeah, and you have to have the worry there of that, John, that the expectations are so high for this Notre Dame football team that they can drop them pretty quickly.
Yeah, obviously expectations, as we've established, can be dangerous because when you expect to win, it's only disappointment then when you lose, more contentment when you are able to pull off that elusive victory. And I agree with you about USC. That's going to be a challenging game. We saw what they were able to do to the Tigers last week. Brian Kelly's LSU team just really fell apart at the end there. So the Trojans, I think, might be the most talented team on the schedule, while the Aggies were still the hardest game. I think Notre Dame's going to have a lot of opportunities to tune up, practice throughout the season, there are good games on there. They're not, any more elite opponents on the schedule, but number 22 Louisville, that's a quality game with a quality opponent that can earn them the NCAA's favorite quality win. And then you have number 23 Georgia Tech and Florida State. I still believe this will help them prepare for the big competition at the end of the season, and I really think they'll be ramped up and ready for the Trojans and the playoff.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited for, but taking a macro look we started with, now let's get a little bit of a micro look with Chris Daly and Ryan Murphy, who will be on the call for WVFI this weekend. Ryan?
All right, here outside touchdown Jesus. Ryan Murphy with Chris Daly will be on the call tomorrow for WVFI's broadcast of Notre Dame and NIU as the Irish return home after a thrilling victory in College Station 23-13 over the Aggies. And Chris, the Lands kind of roll before the Irish. It could be a promising season after clearing that first hurdle. What are you looking for this Notre Dame team as they come out in their home opener?
Yeah, well, last time Marcus Freeman played at NIU was 2006, was playing at Ohio State, had 9 tackles in that game. So a little fun fact for you there. I'm really just hoping Marcus Freeman keeps this Notre Dame team level-headed. Don't get too high on the highs, don't get too low at the lows. And then, of course, the run game. Jadarian Price had a phenomenal game, and you can't forget Jeremiah Love won Notre Dame the game in the last 2 minutes in College Station. So hoping Notre Dame can just keep on pounding the ball, keep nice time of possession, and look ahead for the rest of the season. It should be a relatively easy game. However, NIU, they've had this game scheduled. They're going to put up a good fight.
Absolutely, and with NIU, we're not really sure what we're going to get. Last year, they opened their season at Boston College, a formidable opponent. I know BC didn't have a great year last year, but they beat Boston College on the road in overtime. It was a big season opening win, and then they lost the week after to an FCS club in Southern Illinois in a tough one. So not really sure what we're going to get with them. They are a veteran group, especially on defense, right? So it'll be interesting to see if the Irish can improve. We talked so much about them improving over the course of these next few weeks against maybe not A-line competition. That'll be a big storyline heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see what Notre Dame can do, and hopefully Marcus Freeman has the boys ready.
Kickoff is 3:30 from the house that Rockne built. You can join Chris and I on the call, wvfi.nd.edu. Click on that link, and you'll hear us tomorrow. Should be a great game, and great to be back home for the Irish.
You can catch those two fantastic gentlemen on the internet airwaves starting at 3:30 when Notre Dame takes the field in the house that Rockne built for the first time here in 2024. However, you might be thinking, NIU, there's not much to talk about. Well, there is, for the fact that in week 2, Notre Dame hasn't played their best when they've come off a tough week 1. So let's take a look at these games. We're dating back to 2018, where Notre Dame was coming off of the Michigan game. They barely scaped by a Ball State team 24-16. Then in 2021, myself and Jimmy and John's freshman year barely walked away with a victory against Toledo. And then we don't need to tell you what happened in 2022. The Thundering Herd came in thundering, and they shook the Thunder, and they brought it themselves. So it really looks to be one of those games that, while it doesn't look to have any of those big statistics on paper, it gives way for every Notre Dame fan to be skeptical of their performance.
Yeah, like you said, there's definitely some worry just based on how they've played in week 2 in the past. In our freshman year in 2021, it took a late touchdown from a Jack Cohn after he got his finger snapped back in. So there's worry there. But I'm looking at this game more as like a growth game. I think Notre Dame, now under Marcus Freeman, has become well aware that they can't undervalue their opponents.
Yeah.
And I think that there was enough last week that they know they can build off of, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. I'm looking forward to see a lot of growth there. And I don't think they're going to come in and look at NIU as like a FCS school. I think they know what they have with NIU, and I think they're going to take them as a worthy opponent, and I think they're not going to do what they've done in the past.
Yeah, they've played down to their opponents time and time again here, John. What's your feelings heading into against this Husky team?
In a lot of ways, this game is the anti-Texas A&M game in many in my opinion. You have the safe confines of Notre Dame Stadium versus the behind enemy lines at Kyle Field. It's the super SEC versus the measly MAC, but in the past has been the mighty MAC, as we said, with Ball State, Toledo. I really think, though, the big difference is you talked about Indy playing down to their opponents. I'm not a big fan of doing history and looking to the past in college football because the players change so often, the coaches change so often. I think a lot of that was a Brian Kelly issue, not being able to, just without any disrespect to Brian Kelly, Marcus Freeman is a completely different coach. As Kirk Herbstreit said this week, he is the best motivator in all of college football and connects with his players unlike anyone else. We saw him before the Texas A&M game, leading everyone out of the tunnel, screaming, yelling. He is fearless in this third year now. He has more experience. He's a better game manager while still being the same motivator, leader of men that we see in Dan Campbell in Detroit, right?
Yeah.
And he connects with his players, so I know he'll have the team ready to go. They're going to be locked in and focused. There's no trap game when the team is mentally sharp.
Yeah, there's nothing you need to avoid. However, the history there does favor Notre Dame. Notre Dame is 10-0 when taking on MAC teams. But really, what do you think Notre Dame needs to improve on here to separate themselves in a big factor against a game that, while they escaped with a victory in Texas A&M, there was a lot of question marks surrounding the passing game of Riley Leonard?
Yeah, I think you watched last week going into a very hostile environment, and you see the defense perform the way that they did, and you think, oh yes, this defense is perfect. But then at the end of the day, we only scored 23 points, most of them coming very late. And you were kind of worrying about the offensive line and not being able to run the ball, and you thought that Riley Leonard was going to have to put this offense on his shoulders. And not that he didn't do it. I think Riley Leonard played very well last week, given the circumstances that he was playing in. But I think this is the week that they can kind of settle him in, let him kind of sling the ball around the field, and I think just really get him comfortable in this Notre Dame offense and put up some points and kind of give this offense a week that they need to have, because the defense is going to perform very, very well. And I think if the offense can have a week where they put up 30, 40 points and win comfortably, I think that's going to really help this team.
Yeah, could help them. John, what do you think they need to improve on?
Completely agree. You heard Mike Denbrock in the press conferences after A&M. He was frustrated at times that the offense had to play within itself and throw a screen pass on 3rd and 13 instead of taking a shot down the field. But that was a completely different environment. Week 1, inexperienced line against a formidable front 7 pass rush. Now you can experiment a little bit. You can tinker and take a risk that you couldn't do in such an important game at Kyle Field. I really want to see, more so than just how Leonard performs, specifically how he does when you open up the playbook, throw that deep ball. He has a strong arm. That's one of his strongest attributes, is his ability to act like a gunslinger, throw it deep, take those risks. He loves the back shoulder fade to his receivers, whether it's in the end zone or along the sidelines, but he's not afraid to zip it over the middle too. He has that extra touch that he can throw it between defenders with that strength, and I want to see how his relationship with his top receivers develops. Bo Collins and Chris Mitchell. To me, I think they could be an off-brand version of Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith from the 2020 Alabama team, right? Bo Collins is your Devontae Smith, a route-running possession receiver, where Chris Mitchell is the Jalen Waddle, the burner who's going to make you pay down the field. And really, Mitchell, I think, is so important when we see the evolution of these wide receivers.
No ball.
No longer do you want the big Des Bryant, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones. You want guys like Waddle, like Malik Neighbors, and like the cheetah down in South Beach. Chris Mitchell can be that guy, and if he gets going with Riley Leonard, the offense is going to be dangerous.
There's a cheetah in South Beach, but there's also a cheetah in South Bend, and Ryan Murphy, and he knows ball. Ryan Murphy, do you know ball?
No ball? Let the seasoned ball knowers at Shamrock Sports get you up to date on all things ball around Notre Dame. Shamrock Sports airs 3:30 p.m. every Friday right here on NDTV. Go Irish.
Back here to the second floor, the Duncan Student Center. Welcome you back here to the second floor alongside John Bailey and Jimmy Collins. This is a game that has the potential for young stars to really take that next step forward. It's not a Texas A&M like we talked about. There was already Anthony Knapp already out there on the field, but who is out there that you really think can take that next step forward?
Yeah, anytime you're going into a week where you're playing a group of 5 school or a school that championship teams expect to beat, I think you start to kind of think, oh, what younger guys could we see in a game like this? And looking more on the offensive side of the ball is something that I kind of want to focus on, hoping to get them in a groove. But the first guy is KK Smith, who is looking to really get his first meaningful snaps this week. And it's kind of an addition by subtraction sort of player that you have, because you lost Jordan Faison for at least a week or two. But yeah, I'm excited to see KK Smith. I think they're going to utilize him a lot in kind of the boundaries like John was talking about. But then another guy who really, really fascinates me, and he has since the spring game, is freshman running back Aeneas Williams. He ran for 10 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown in the blue gold game. And he's a really hard runner. Kind of reminds me of a running back from a few years ago who's now really flourishing in the NFL, in Kyron Williams. Just watching the tape, they're very similar backs. I'm very excited. You see his touchdown here, getting to the pylon. He's a gritty back, and I'm really hoping that we see some meaningful snaps for him for at least a couple drives.
Yeah, that's the hope that you have here. So we talked about the offense. Now switch sides of the ball. Let's go to Al Golden.
Oh, yeah.
And the man.
Defense wins championships, right,
Defense
fellas?
wins championships.
All right. Yeah, the defense is going to, regardless of how good the offense gets and how they progress, the defense is going to be, what drives this Notre Dame team, what takes them to that championship game potentially if all goes well. And a lot of that comes down to the linebacker depth. Obviously, elite secondary, maybe the best in all of college football, led by definitely the best corner in all of college football, Benjamin Morrison. But I love these linebackers. We know Jack Kaiser's great. He's the leader of that group. So I want to see how the other guys are going to fare this week. You have Kingston Viliamu-Asa. He's a phenomenal talent. He's very versatile. You can play him inside or outside, so I want to see where he lines up this week. He's vital to stuff the run inside, because we know NIU, they can really pound the ball, and I think that if you can play him and he can hit those gaps fast, he's going to kill it. But another guy I think is really going to excel this week, Boubacar Traore. He's been a guy I followed since he was recruited after excelling in high school with just one of the fastest, biggest guys out on the field at all times. He is an athlete among athletes with an 80-inch wingspan that lets him break up passes just like that. He has elite strength and speed, playing both on the interior and outside defensive line. Great twitch when firing off the snap, and is able to breeze through linemen to generate pressure, and I think he's going to double his career sack count this week. He was able to get to Caleb Williams last season, get a strip sack on him. I think he's really going to cause some havoc if given the opportunity to prove how he's grown with his increased technique with Al Washington and his increased upper body strength with Coach Lauren Landau.
Yeah, there is a lot to be excited about for this young team that really puts together a very solid core group. And you touched upon it right there. Notre Dame was conditioned well for the environment of College Station. We can't get over it just yet. Our own Kian Bagos, with his dad in attendance for his first Notre Dame football game, was on the ground. Kian, it was electric, man.
Hey guys, Kian Bagos here. I don't know if you guys know, but ND may have just had one of their biggest road wins in who knows how many years last weekend in College Station against the Texas A&M Aggies. And I got to see the historic occasion up close and personal and wanted to share my experience at one of the craziest stadiums I have ever been to. When we first got to the stadium and were walking in, it was surprisingly pretty quiet, just a little calm before the storm. And storm it was. Like ND games, right before the game, there was a flyover, but they had full-on military Airbuses. And the entrance, oh my gosh, they had everything from pop songs to sirens to military drums. They obviously weren't so receptive to the Irish entering, minus Marcus Freeman. Not as many amenities for the guys in gold. Take a listen. They also had so many coordinated fight songs and choreography that you would think you were at a Broadway show. After the first half, very tight game. Honestly, was a little worried. We couldn't do anything past. A&M was killing us in the run game. But in the true Irish Catholic spirit, we were resurrected. The run game finally came alive, and huge touchdown runs at critical moments by Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love clinched the victory for us. In addition to the man of Siegfried, Jaden Greyhouse's amazing catch on third down, gave us one critical third down conversion in a night of many third and longs. But of course, this did not shut College Station up. The Aggies brought their PlayStations and singing voices to Kyle Field as the NCAA 25 Mo Bamba anthem and another fight song with dance moves commenced. Have a listen. But in the end, the Irish prevailed, and the Irish faithful brought ND Stadium to Texas, with Leper Colin getting the crowd fired up and touchdown push-ups commencing. Truly a College Station Irish invasion. And of course, the team did the famous alma mater with the students to give thanks to the Queen of Victory for getting us a major ranked SEC victory at one of the most hostile environments in the country.
Mamba shook us from the desk all the way over to standing here as we get ready to go running into Notre Dame Stadium. And when we move here, it can only mean two things: Shambuki and picks. And let me tell you, I have been so high on my Shambuki. I found this little tidbit earlier in the week, and I have been sitting on it. And I told Ryan Murphy, our producer, that I was going to go on here and bet $100 on this game. I lost $100 trying to do a bit for this, but give me San Jose State plus 6.5 versus Air Force, and that does not make sense. Air Force was the dominant team out of the Mountain West last year. They only returned 28% of their production from last year, and when teams in the last 10 years only return 28%, they see a dropout on the field. So you already know Air Force has problems, as they were only able to score 21-6 against Merrimack, a school from Massachusetts. They don't do football in Massachusetts. I'm a New Englander. They don't. They don't. And they let Merrimack score 210 yards on them. And then when you add in the fact San Jose State started to put it together against Sacramento State late, and Mr. Jimmy Collins, who is the coach of San Jose State now? You have no idea. That's right. No one does. It's Ken Namiola, the great all-time winningest coach at Navy. You know what he ran at Navy?
The triple option.
The triple option. You know what Air Force runs?
The triple option.
The triple option. He knows how to defend it. Give me 6.5. That is my super dog underdog. If you got any money, put the savings on this thing. San Jose State will cover and win outright.
See, I don't know if they do football in Sacramento either, though. So I think
you know what? I am taking my chances. Give me everything I got. You have a really interesting one that I really would like to poke at.
Yeah. So I'm not quite as degenerate as you are picking a San Diego State against Air Force. I'm going to stick to Power 5 because I think that's, that's better.
Okay.
But I'm going to take Syracuse plus 2.5. I'd even take them to win outright against Georgia Tech. And I know that Georgia Tech has all of a sudden become the team on Notre Dame's schedule that it really feels like we're highlighting mid-season. The Georgia Tech game in Atlanta, that's going to be a tough one. Yes, Georgia Tech is a great football team. They traveled out to Ireland. They beat Florida State, who we saw again on Monday, not that good. And then they dominated a Georgia State team, who it's Georgia State. Come on. Syracuse had a bit of a slow start last week against Ohio, but I do really believe that this Syracuse team is going to be pretty solid this year. They don't play very many good teams, and I think that they'll pick up a ranked win this weekend against Georgia Tech and really boost their chances of being ranked. So I do like Syracuse. I think Kyle McCord's going to throw for 350 to 400 yards against Georgia Tech, and I think they'll cover and win.
Yeah, Fran Brown looking to have the JMA Wireless Dome bumping, the Loud House they call it. We're staying in the ACC here, John, for your pick.
So I'm not a big risk taker, especially when it comes to money or gambling. I want to look at things that I think are definitively going to hit. I'm not looking for huge odds, but I will take plus odds on any game that I think has a clear victor. And for me, that's Pittsburgh over Cincinnati this week. They have plus 110 odds. And hey, if even it was even, I'd probably put money on this game. Pitt has a new look offense. It's up tempo and was the 6th fastest in all of college football week 1. They can score, and they can score in a hurry. Doesn't matter if it's on the ground, in the air, or even on special teams, with over an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown against Kennesaw State. Again, not like it's any sort of great football program, Kent State rather, but I really think they're going to put up a bunch of points. The Bearcats haven't shown me anything to believe in them this season, and I have a 90% chance you're going to see Pittsburgh walk away with a win and some free money in your pocket.
Free money in your pocket. It's getting late into the semester here. You gotta get some money back to the bank account. Take some sham bookies. Let's just say, I want to point out, last week our betting experts went 1 and 3.
And the winner?
And the winner was Jimmy Collins. That's why he's back for a second week. And why
Winner stays, right?
Hey, winner stays. Winner stays on. And people that always are winners are some friends here at NDTV.
No one told you life was gonna be this way. Your job's a joke, you broke, your love life's the old way. It's like you're always stuck in second gear. When it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, even your year. But I'll be there for you when the rain starts to pour. I'll be there for you like I've been there before. I'll be there for you 'cause you're there for me too.
Well, we're back here to the second floor, and it's time to round out the show and close it out here. And let's get a look at how the picking worked. Let's take a look at the rules. If you get the correct team who wins, you get 1 point automatically. 2 bonus points are awarded for the person who was the closest to predict the score, provided the correctly predicting the winner. That last week was Ryan Murphy. He now stands with a 3-point lead over an 8-way tie in second. Now, Notre Dame students are feeling pretty good, and it's shown by our Shamrock sports pool of some really educated individuals in here. Ryan Murphy going back for a big win, 46-6. And a couple alumni in on the list. Kelly Gorman and Liz Perna making a trip for the Huskies. They got big wins there, but Kelly Gorman, she's a little scared right there, 34-10, thinking that week 2 troubles could continue on. As for this panel, I think we are pretty open about how we are going to go about this. For me, it is a no-doubter here for Notre Dame. I think they get this job done in big ways. I don't think Notre Dame really faces that much of an issue. They allow 10 points at the end of the day just because of them getting in some rookies on the back end. But give me Notre Dame here, 45-10 in a big victory for them and confidence ensuing for Riley Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, I know I picked against Notre Dame last week. I went with Texas A&M. Someone had to do it. I think someone, no, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. I think 31-10. I think the offense is going to get going early. The defense is going to be locked down, like Jacob said, until you kind of get some younger guys into the game. I think NIU, being a prominent MAC school, will put one into the end zone against those younger guys. But I think Notre Dame wins 31-10. I don't think they're going to blow them out by any means, but I think they're really going to get that week 2 monkey off their back.
So you don't think it's worth sprinkling some money on that NIU money line plus 3,500 or whatever it is?
I'm not going to say you should because, you never know.
Okay. All right. Well, I think you guys can crawl out of last place this week from your picks.
Oh, you're right.
I agree. I think that Notre Dame's going to win quite handily. I think it all depends on if we see Riley Leonard really step up to the plate and attack those shots down the field. If he can improve his accuracy, we could see something 50 points potentially. I am going to be optimistic, say 41-6. Notre Dame's defense is going to absolutely stifle Ethan Hampton. He's NIU's quarterback in just his second start. He had 5 touchdowns week 1. I wouldn't be surprised if he's closer to 5 interceptions after this game. I think Irish are going to roll.
Hey, have them rolling. That ball could be going. That looking to be undefeated still remains for a lot of our Shamrock Sports Pool members. We will find out whether that stays true. Let's just remind everybody, no one picked Marshall as well, so just gotta plant that there. However, gotta give a big thank you to all the freshmen who came out and started their NDTV careers this week. Let's go, big ones. So real big thanks to all of them who put in all this work this week, especially on its short turnaround. We are off next week with the inauguration of President Dowd becoming the new president of Notre Dame. We will see you next week right here on the Shamrock Sports stage for Miami, Ohio. We'll talk to you next week and the week after that, really. We'll see you later.